I'm sorry, but I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world, there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent, and all will be lost. The aeroplane and the radio have brought us closer together. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in men, cries out for universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all. Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world. Millions of despairing men, women, and children, victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish. Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes. Men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines, you are not cattle, you are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate, only the unloved hate, the unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, don't fight for slavery, fight for liberty. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you. You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, a decent world, that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Soldiers, in the name of democracy, let us all unite!
But now we have someone from the private sector, Brad Garlinghouse, who is the CEO of the financial technology company Ripple.
I will start off by also thanking Charles, thanking Thomas, thanking Christine. It's an honor to be included. And as was introduced, I think they saved me for last so that I could talk about the private sector version of this. I also start by kind of explaining the basics of what Ripple is and what Ripple is not. Ripple is a private company. We're based in California, about 300 or 400 employees around the world. And we're trying to solve a problem. We're selling technologies to banks and financial institutions to solve a cross-border payments problem.
And we're going to have another big announcement in 2 weeks, unrelated, but something that's going to have a profound effect on the things that we're talking about and have been talking about over the last 2.5 years. It's going to be something really incredible. That'll take place over the next 2 weeks. That'll be a very big announcement. Nobody knows what it is. It's going to be a big surprise, but it's going to be a very pleasant one.
See those little black boxes? They're called telephones. I'm going to let you on a little secret about these telephones. They're not going to dial themselves, okay? Without you, they're just worthless hunks of plastic. Like a loaded M16 without a trained Marine to pull the trigger. And in the case of the telephone, it's up to each and every one of you, my highly trained Stratonites, my killers. My killers who will not take no for an answer. My fucking warriors who will not hang up the phone until their client either buys or fucking dies! Let me tell you something. There is no nobility in poverty. I have been a rich man and I have been a poor man, and I choose rich every fucking time. Because at least as a rich man, when I have to face my problems, I show up in the back of a limo wearing a $2,000 suit and a $40,000 gold fucking watch. Fat boys, duke it out! Hit him! Hit him! Fuck off of me! Now, if anyone here thinks I'm superficial or materialistic, go get a job at fucking McDonald's, because that's where you fucking belong. But before you depart this room full of winners, I want you to take a good look at the person next to you. Go on. Because sometime in the not so distant future, you're gonna be pulling up to a red light and you beat up old fucking Pinot, and that person's gonna be pulling up right alongside you in their brand new Porsche with that beautiful wife by their side who's got big voluptuous tits. And who are you gonna be sitting next to? Some disgusting wildebeest with 3 days of razor stubble and a sleeveless muumuu crammed in next to you in a carload full of groceries from the fucking Price Club. That's who you're gonna be sitting next to. So you listen to me and you listen well. Are you behind on your credit card bills? Good, pick up the phone and start dialing. Is your landlord ready to evict you? Good, pick up the phone and start dialing. Does your girlfriend think you're a fucking worthless loser? Good, pick up the phone and start dialing. I want you to deal with your problems by becoming rich. All you have to do today is pick up that phone and speak the words that I have taught you, and I will make you richer than the most powerful CEO in the United States of fucking America. I want you to go out there and I want you to ram Steve Madden's stock down your clients' throats till they fucking choke on it. Till they choke on it and they buy 100,000 shares. That's what I want you to do. You be ferocious. You be relentless. You be telephone fucking terrorist. Now let's knock this motherfucker out of the park.
I get a salary. I get it in US dollars. I assume it still comes into a regular bank. I don't know. I'm going to then take that. I'm going to move some of that into a Circle account or a Coinbase account or my new Facebook wallet or whatnot. And then the piece of this that I don't get is I'm going to put some of that in Bitcoin as an investment, as an investment like a commodity, like in gold, or I'm going to leave it there because that's going to be more stable, or I assume that's going to be less stable than what I'm going to use for transactions using a Libra or a Circle. This is what I'm trying to understand, sort of the use case, how it actually would work.
Sure. I mean, I think our view is that, you know, these digital tokens, these crypto assets are going to begin to proliferate sort of every type of financial instrument. So you're going to have these sort of native digital assets like Bitcoin that are sort of commodities that you may invest in if you want to invest and get exposure to commodities. You're also going to have stable coins. Now, our view is actually similar to the Libra view, which is that we think over the next 3 to 5 years that new global digital currency units that are baskets of both sovereign money and potentially non-sovereign money will become preferred for individuals around the world to transact with each other rather than individual fiat currencies. So in that 10-year time frame, we think global currencies will be established. They'll be digital currency based. They'll be based on a trade-weighted, GDP-adjusted kind of balance of weights. And that will be how you transact every day, how you get your salary, how you pay for things with everyone everywhere. And then finally, there are going to be a lot of digital assets that they represent some type of investment contract that could be a loan, a mortgage, the equivalent of equity in a company, traditional securities, any type of financial contract will get implemented as a digital asset, and those will be tradable in these capital market.
I say... Just a minute, just a minute. Now, hold on, Mr. Potter. Just a minute. Now, you're right when you say my father was no businessman. I know that. Why he ever started this cheap penny-ante building and loan, I'll never know. But neither you nor anybody else can say anything against his character, because his whole life was... Why, in the 25 years since he and Uncle Billy started this thing, he never once thought of himself. Isn't that right, Uncle Billy? He didn't save enough money to send Harry to school, let alone me. But he did help a few people get out of your slums, Mr. Potter. And what's wrong with that? Here, you're all businessmen here. Doesn't it make them better citizens? Doesn't it make them better customers? You said that what'd you say just a minute ago? They had to wait and save their money before they even thought of a decent home? Wait for what? Until their children grow up and leave them? Until they're so old and broken down that you know how long it takes a working man to save $5,000? Just remember this, Mr. Potter, that this rabble you're talking about, they do most of the working and paying and living and dying in this community. Well, is it too much to have them work and pay and live and die in a couple of decent rooms and a bath? Anyway, my father didn't think so. People were human beings to him, but to you, a warped, frustrated old man, they're cattle. Well, in my book, he died a much richer man than you'll ever be.
I'm not interested in your book. I'm talking about the building and loan.
I know very well what you're talking about. You're talking about something you can't get your fingers on, and it's galling you. That's what you're talking about, I know. Well, I've said too much. You're the board here. You do what you want with this thing. There's just one thing more, though. This town needs this measly one-horse institution, if only to have some place where people can come without crawling to Potter. Come on.
I thought that was a fascinating answer.
Okay, you want to take off the hoodie?
No, I never take off the hoodie.
I know you don't. What's with that? There's a group of women in the audience that wish you would.
No.
Girls?
Whoa.
All right.
Sorry. Yeah, that's okay.
Can you explain what this instant personalization thing was that you did, and why you did it, and what's the value of it to your users?
Maybe I should take off the hoodie.
Take off the hoodie.
Go ahead.
You want
What
to?
the hell?
You want? Go ahead. Here. Let me get someone. You all right?
Yeah.
This is a great moment in internet history.
What?
All right.
What are we gonna do with the mic?
Put it on your...
All right.
Put it on the collar of your teeth. Do you want?
Do you need some help?
No.
All right.
Sorry about this.
About being quiet, Mark.
No.
We're not even yelling at it
Yeah.
yet.
We're not going to yell at you.
It is a warm hoodie.
Yeah. No, it's a thick hoodie. It's a company hoodie. We print our mission on the inside.
What? Oh,
really?
my God, the inside of the hoodie, everybody. Take a look. What is it? Making the world more open and connected. Oh my God, it's like a secret vault. Look at that, making the world open and connected, stream, graph, platform, and this weird symbol in the middle that is probably for the Illuminati.
I don't know what it's saying there.
Well, look, I think, to be frank, there is a lot of hype, and to be crass, there's a lot of bullshit in the blockchain.
I begged him to be crass, by the way, in our pre-interview. Yeah.
I just think there's a lot of noise, and it's really, really, really hard, I think, for people looking at these ecosystems to understand like what is real and what is noise. Mm-hmm. I mean, look, I'm sure we'll talk more about Facebook, but one of the headlines I read about that was, Facebook launches cryptocurrency.
Right.
That was on CNBC.
Right.
Facebook did not launch a cryptocurrency. Facebook wrote a white paper about their intent and their plans that maybe a year from now we'll see a cryptocurrency called Libra. So I think it's hard for the industry to separate what is real. I think the MoneyGram deal was a very big deal for Ripple. I think it was even a bigger deal for the crypto markets overall. Mm-hmm. If we go back in time, and as we've heard from other panelists, I do think the original use case for crypto, it was Silk Road.
Right.
Then about 2 years ago, it became about speculation.
Right.
And I think what we're seeing in 2019 and what we'll see going forward is there has to be utility. There has to be a problem you're solving leveraging these technologies, or why? Why do they exist? I just think there's a lot of noise. Look, I think blockchains are an incredible evolution, and I think many parts of the internet, many parts of how transactions happen will change because of blockchains, period. I think there are a lot of examples that I see people talk about where I ask myself, and I would ask people to ask themselves, why doesn't a database work better? Right. Why isn't a database more efficient? A blockchain is kind of an expensive database. Right. It's slower than many database technologies. And I think a lot of people that use the word blockchain as frankly, catnip for investors.
Right.
They want, or for marketing, that they want to get, consulting revenue, so they talk about blockchain. Look, we have tried to be very, very focused on solving a specific set of problems for a specific set of customers, and that is around transaction banking and liquidity management. So that today, as you've heard, cross-border transactions, they are slow, they are expensive, they are error-prone, and the one cost that I think gets overlooked that people don't fundamentally understand is the way correspondent banking works is pre-funded capital sits in accounts around the world, and you have literally $10 trillion pre-funded into other banks, into other financial institutions, in order to facilitate. It's the oil in the engine that allows correspondent banking to work, and it's sitting there. And if we can reduce the amount of oil necessary in the engine, that's incredible efficiency for the global economy. That's good for everybody. If we can remove 10 trillion to a lower number, that's stock buybacks, that's dividends, that's working capital for lots of other purposes.
So this is key because, I mean, you really see the value in this or in many of the sort of digital assets.
Well, so first let me say, I don't think there's going to be one crypto to rule them all. And I think there are cryptos. I own Bitcoin, I'm long Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is a store of value and people hold it. And so I don't think there's just going to be one use case. We think about XRP as an incredibly efficient shuttler, a bridge currency, if you will, and because it's extremely fast.
Right.
So in contrast to even Bitcoin, for example, we can do a transaction for about 6/10,000th of a cent. A Bitcoin transaction today costs about $2.30 per transaction. Now, that doesn't mean Bitcoin's going to fail or something. I think Bitcoin and XRP, I don't view them as competitive.
Right.
XRP is extremely efficient for that payments solution, that payments problem we're solving. And Bitcoin's, I think, as a store of value, digital gold, as you heard from Barry Silbert up here yesterday. Today gold is worth many trillions of dollars, and Bitcoin's worth, something around 200 billion.
When you said that it was the best time, it was the best week for Ripple contracts ever, is that a factual statement, or are you just hoping?
No, that's a factual statement.
The Facebook announcement
has absolutely catalyzed a contract activity. So we may have been talking to a bank, a payment provider for 6 weeks, 6 months about a contract. This has been a call to action. There's no question. I was texting with our head of sales, a guy named John Mitchell. He flies around the world more than anybody I've ever met. And this is going to be a record week for Ripple.
Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We were all meant to shine as children do. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Sir, I just want to say thank you. You saved my life.
You win! I'm done. Please, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be God. I want you to decide what's right for me. I surrender to your will.
Now, as I understand it, Western Union tested Ripple to use for its network, but it ended up being more expensive than its current network. Is MoneyGrab actually saving money by using Ripple?
Actually what Western Union said was that they've been around for decades, and what they said is that in our beta time, the time the product hadn't yet launched, they said that we matched the efficiency of what they were already optimized. So my view on that was they had spent decades getting to an efficiency that we matched with a beta product. So I was actually really pleased that Western Union could come out and say we're already as good as the decades they had invested in building out that that capability. With MoneyGram, we know out of the gates we can actually make their system much more efficient. And the key reason is today, both Western Union and MoneyGram, they pre-fund accounts around the world so they can make payments. So MoneyGram and Western Union have negative working capital. What our products allow those companies to do is to not pre-fund and to shoot payments in real time. And that's a massive savings in terms of the efficiency, not just in terms of what is the cost in FX, but the capital cost, the outlays. It's really a dormant asset when you pre-fund those, is sitting there waiting for people to make payments. And that's really the transformational thing that XRP as an extremely efficient digital asset allows for the industry.
I just saw Brad before coming to this meeting. I said, hey Brad, you know, we are still in talking. I congratulate him to this deal. Obviously MoneyGram needed something and Ripple needed something. That sounds a good deal. But for us, it's currently, we are pretty much okay with our settlement system. We can move money in a way that nobody can move it, so that works. But look, hey, I'm open. Any cost savings, any innovation, I'm there. I have, you know, we can sign a deal tomorrow.
How much equity did Ripple get in this deal?
Well, what we committed to do is to invest up to $50 million. We'll end up owning somewhere between about 6 or 7% and 10% of the company. They're going to call, they decide over the course of the next year how much of that $50 million they want to call down. At close, they've called down $30 million at a price of $4.10 per share. So we're excited to be shareholders because we think that actually it's been an undervalued asset. As you may know, Ant Financial tried to buy MoneyGram over a year ago. That was ultimately blocked by CFIUS, but we think it's a really undervalued and strategic asset in the overall payments landscape. We couldn't be more excited to have a shared vision of how digital assets can change the nature of how liquidity is managed for payment providers globally.
Time to start running! On your marks, get set. Killian, I'll be back. Only in a rerun.
What do you think of Facebook's coin?
Well, I think Facebook has a little bit of a trust debt to kind of before they can credibly enter the space. And I think also having a lot of money is not necessarily what you need to have credibility here. It kind of takes a sort of neutrality and a sort of lack of alignment. It's going to be interesting to see what they're able to put together. From what I understand right now, it is, and they have not published their full details yet, but it looks like it's a collateralized asset. And in any collateralized asset, it's not going to be open because whoever holds the collateral can make the rules. In digital assets, there's sort of an openness. There's no entity that has any legal right to dictate what the rules are. But if you have the collateral, obviously whatever you say is going to go. So I'm not really sure that I see what's going to be fundamentally different. I wonder whether their goals are more like access, putting themselves inside the transaction flows so that they can see them. If they're more about regulatory arbitrage, where maybe they'll be able to have an asset that doesn't have as much regulatory control because another party is sort of governing the movement of it. I don't know that there's any fundamental change or improvement there. But again, we'll see. I will say one thing that I think is going to be huge is micropayments. This gets a little out there for this audience maybe, but I think micropayments are going to sort of take over the world the way packet data kind of took over the world. I think that if you can make small payments very cheaply and you can make billions of them without a problem, then you don't need anything else. You don't need some special way to make larger payments.
Yeah, tell me more about, I wrote about that recently because it's near and dear to my industry. I've covered media for 10 years and even 10 years ago we're like, micropayments will save us because right now you hit a paywall, maybe you want to read that sports story, the local newspaper is like, subscribe, blah, and you're like, nah, and leave. If there's something in your browser you could just click and pay 50 cents to read. Is that close or when do you think that's going to come and who's going to bring it to us?
So there's actually a web monetization standard. And what you do is there's a protocol called Interledger, which is a payment protocol that allows you to have a sort of receiving address that's universally understood. So why is email so great? You give me your email address and that's all I need to know to contact you. Interledger does the same thing. Whether you receive bitcoins or dollars or XRP or whatever, you can have an Interledger address as long as there's someone who speaks that protocol who can receive the funds for you. The way this web monetization protocol works is you just put a tag in your web page that says, this is where you can send me money. and then your browser has a plugin. There's a company called Coil that's a web monetization provider, but anyone can do it. And what they do is they make a plugin for your browser that reads those web monetization tags and just sends them money. So if you go to a website, instead of seeing like, you know, we need to raise $50,000 to stay online, you'll see thank you for donating. Or if they have a members only area or a paywall, you'll just go right through it and you'll see a message that like, you know, thank you for sending us money through web monetization. Coil made 1 billion payments last year, with the average payment being like 1,000th of a penny. So it's effectively streaming money. And what's nice about that is if you pay a certain amount of money to go through a paywall and it was a clickbaity article, you can't get the money back. Like 50 cents is enough that it's worth trying to trick people into getting into that article. But if you're streaming the money while they're on there, and your web monetization provider can be like, these guys are terrible, we're just not going to send them any money, or these guys are great, we're going to send them a lot of money. And I think that's super important because a lot of the privacy issues come from advertising. A lot of the reasons that like the internet sucks comes from the advertising model that websites use that force, if I'm going to give you an ad, the more I know about you, the more you're worth to me. Whereas if you're paying me to access my site, none of those privacy issues become a problem. So I think that's really big.
That's exciting. So you're saying within a year or two, we might all have like a little digital wallet with some, you know, Bitcoin or XRP or stable coins in it and just stream the money to the sites we like?
Exactly, in thousandths of a penny increments or even smaller.
Huh, very cool. And I'm repeating myself, but how far away are we from that?
Well, we have it now. It's just a matter of adoption. All of the technology is here. So there's still connectivity needed. Like, you know, how can I get money in with like a credit card? Coil already does that. Coil, I pay Coil $5 a month on my credit card, and they stream money to the websites that I visit. And there are websites now that will thank me for donating. So it's happening now. And what makes that work is this idea that we can make payments ridiculously cheaply. The payment is no more expensive than any other like internet request. And I think that's the magic that makes that work. And we could build enterprise payments on top of micropayments. You can do anything with micropayments, just like you can do any data thing with packets, as long as you can send enough of them, same thing.
Very cool. We are almost out of time. I promised we'd play the game that they like to do here called overrated, underrated. So I will give you a word, and you can only say overrated or underrated. Facebook.
Overrated.
Overrated.
Will you fight? No! We will run! And we will live!
Shame on you. This could be the greatest night of our lives. But you're gonna let it be the worst.
And I guarantee a week won't go by in your life you won't regret walking out, letting them get the best of it.
Well, I'm not going home.
You've got too far! And I'm gonna stay right here and fight for this lost cause.
A day may come when the courage of men fails, but it is not this day.
The line must be drawn here. This far, no farther.
I'm not saying it's gonna be easy.
You're gonna work harder than you ever worked before.
But that's fine, we'll just get tougher with it.
If a person grits his teeth and shows real determination,
Failure is not an option. That's how winning is done.
Believe me when I say we can break this army here.
And win just one for the Gipper.
But I say to you, what every warrior has known since the beginning of time.
You've got to get mad.
I mean plumb mad dog mean.
If you would be free men, then you must
Fight to fulfill that promise. Let us
cut out their living guts 1 inch at a time.
and they will know what we can do!
Let no man forget how menacing we are. We are lions.
You're like a big bear, man.
This is your time. Seize the day. Never surrender.
Victory or death. That's the Chicago.
Who's with me?
Clap! Clap! Don't let team die! Clap!
All right, let's fly.
And gentlemen in England, now a bed shall know my name is the Lord. When I tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our Independence Day.
Got a rhythm? All right, I got a pulse. All right, let's let him up. Yeah, put the backboard and brace.